Hello friends, today we are taking a look at a 2-pack from Neca based on Evil Dead 2. If we open it up inside, we get to see that it is Ash versus Evil Ed. Deadite Ed.
Groovy.
So here are Ash and Deadite Ed out of the packaging, and I gotta say the sculpt on these two is pretty amazing. It's perfect. I mean, it's Neca, so what did you expect? Now, it's a little weird that Ash comes with Ed, because this is totally the Ash from the end of the movie. Like, he's got this strapped onto his arm permanently, and like, he comes with the sawed-off shotgun, not just the normal shotgun, which, I mean, he doesn't saw it off until the end, and he fought Ed before that. So, I mean, well, whatever. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They just kind of took the Army of Darkness Ash, which is the one I really want, which is the one from the end of Evil Dead 2 also, and they just packaged him with someone else so they could sell 2 figures instead of 1, but I'm not really complaining because this is an awesome Ash figure. Now, let's take a look at his face, because his face is definitely Bruce Campbell, but it's a little caricature-y. Now, that's not really a bad thing, because Bruce Campbell's face is a little caricature-y. And the same thing goes for his alternate faces. They're all really Bruce Campbell-y, really caricature-y if we can focus on them. Like, that's not how human lips really go, but it's a good sculpt nevertheless. It just looks so funny and awesome. Ash has one more head, but it's kind of boring. It's kind of neutral. I mean, it's the head he comes packaged with the surprise one, which I really like, and I wish we could focus on some more. But the rest of the sculpt, oh gosh, it's so cool. There's little hairs on his chest that are sculpted, and I mean, some of them are painted with a dark wash that helps bring it out, but then the real paint that helps is all this blood all over, and I guess it's not really Ash from the end, because he's like soaked in blood by then, and his blue shirt's like totally brown by the time he winds up in the past. I don't know. It's sort of the standard guy you think of when you think of Ash, which I like. And it's got his chainsaw arm, and the sculpt on it is so good. There's little bumps on the chain all the way. Oh, if we can focus on the chain. Maybe I get him out of here so we can focus on Ash, because he's the reason I bought this set, really. I really love the folds in his ripped shirt down here, and the texture on his pants really has a texture of like denim or work pants or something. We've got all the little pockets sculpted on the back. It's just a really good sculpt in general. And then the holster for his gun has all this leather on it. Just looks so good. Shoelaces are sculpted. Neca doesn't miss a detail as usual. Really like the sculpt on the chainsaw. If we can get back to that, it's just got every little detail you can imagine. Awesome sculpt on this guy. Ed also has a really awesome sculpt. I mean, just look at that face and those eyes. It's just really grotesque looking, but I mean, the rest of the body kind of plain, kind of surprisingly clean. Oh, that's a paint issue. Although, look at those hands. They're just like monstrously elongated fingers. I really like that detail. But otherwise, there's not much to say about Ed. What sculpted should be. All the little buttons on his shirt, every little fold in the pants. I mean, this is like really good sculpt on the folds in the pants back here, but like, they didn't miss any details, but overall, he's kind of a boring character, even if he is a Deadite, you know? Now, paint on these guys is a little more mixed. I said before there's a dark wash on the chest hair that Ash has, but it's not applied everywhere. There's definitely like a wash on his arms and his neck, and I love all this dirt down here. Just make him look greasy and dirty, like he's been through one long horrible weekend, sort of. One long nightmare. Just extends from movie to movie and repeats itself in the beginning sometimes, somehow. Don't think about it too much. But the face, I mean, the face has blood, but other than that, it's kind of surprisingly clean when you contrast it with the body. So that's a little weird, but it's a very minor nitpick. One thing I do love, they got blood on the chainsaw, which there should be. There should never not be blood on that chainsaw. And the paint is pretty perfect overall from the neck down, except for the fact maybe like there should be a little more wash so you can see more hair, and like maybe the face should have a bit more dirt or something, but I can't really complain. There's no issues with slop. The paint just looks awesome overall. Now, if Ash's body was pretty dirty and his face pretty clean, Ed's the total opposite. Like, his clothes are just spotless and immaculate. They don't have any wash at all. So, I mean, maybe that's a little disappointing, but like even the shoes aren't really dirty. They look like they just got bought from the store. It's kind of unrealistic, Neca, but the face paint, oh man, as I crunch his little legs so we can look at it, that is flawless and perfect. Wow, I love the paint, how it gets darker near the eyes, and the eyes are all white and glossy. It just looks so gross, and the teeth look so gross, like, oh, and I love the dark wash on the hands there. Looks all dirty and evil and creepy. Really good paint, although it's just kind of an odd choice that his clothes are super clean. Now for articulation, Ash has a ball joint head. It can look up not that far, but it can look down that much, and he can go all the way around and get some good head tilt side to side, which is good for Ash because he should always be like, what? The shoulders have hinge and swivels. They can get about to 90 and go all the way around. Nothing at the bicep, but he's got hinge and swivel elbows. They can almost get to 90. Pretty good job. And then the wrists are just ball joints. They could probably use a hinge somewhere, but they swivel all the way around too. When I say wrists, I mean wrist, but I mean the other wrist just swivels. It's not on a ball joint, so I mean, but it's not really a wrist either, so whatever. The torso has what looks like a diaphragm joint in there, but you can't really do it because even though the shirt part is like rubber, it's not that flexible. I mean, you can tell it does like move, but you're not making any poses with that diaphragm joint. I feel like what Neca should have done is sculpted a joint beneath these two belt straps here and just like hidden it with that and made that the diaphragm joint. But anyways, his waist does have sort of a ball thing going. It can get some side to side, not too much, and forward and back a little bit on the waist, but it really is just good for twisting around. The hips are on ball joints. They can go that far forward, and they can go pretty far back thanks to the rubber diaper Neca's got going on there, and they can twist around too. The knee can't quite get to 90, but it can swivel, and the feet are ball joints, and unfortunately they just don't get too much movement, especially since the pants are sculpted so hard and firm, and innuendo again, but they can twist around, so I mean that's okay. I just wish they had some kind of hinge thing going on, or maybe articulated toes too, but overall articulation's pretty par for the course for Neca. Let's check out Ed next. So Ed has a ball joint head that can go all the way around, which is necessary for his crazy deadite character, and because it's on a shorter peg, it can actually go up and down much more than Ash could, and he still gets great side to side, even more than Ash does. And what he gets more than Ash is an articulated mouth! Seriously, that is very, very cool. I like that a lot. He loses that diaphragm joint, although it's not much of a loss compared to Ash, but he does get some sort of waist ball joint. It feels like it's not going to go too far forward or back and hold anything, really, but he can twist around, even though he's wider at the hips, and it kind of stretches out that rubber diaper in there. He has hinge and swivel elbows. They aren't getting to 90, really. They're pretty stiff, but they can go all the way around, and they can't quite get all the way down to his side to make the arms perfectly straight either. And then, strangely, he has double elbows. There's a swivel and hinge at this cuff here that's pretty well hidden, and they swivel at the upper part of the elbow, too. It's really cool to have, actually. And then he has hinge and swivel wrists, which Ash didn't get, so far the articulation on Ed is looking a lot better, frankly. Hips are on ball joints. They can go so far forward and so far back. He has a rubber diaper just like Ash, but he seems to get a bit of a better range going backwards, right? He can do the splits like so, and they swivel at the top, even if they are kind of creaky, squeaky sounding. The knees hinge almost up to 90, and they swivel too, of course. The feet are on ball joints. I wish they had a hinge, but the right one seems to get a lot more range than Ash's foot did, although the left one gets like 0 range at all. Maybe it's super stuck, or it's probably just because how the cuffs are sculpted at the bottom of the pants. But overall, he does have better articulation than Ash. So we saw a bit of the packaging earlier. It's got really cool artwork on the front. It's all hand-drawn. I love it. On the inside, we get this really cool photo of the figures in a diorama, and the window shows them off really nicely. The side gets the movie logo. That's for the 30th anniversary, it says up there. And on the back, we get all these little cool pictures of the figures. Really nice packaging and collector-friendly, too. Anyways, we just open it up super easily with this one piece of tape and flip this guy open to slide the tray out. Looks like there's one twist tie for Ash, one twist tie for Ed. These were some pretty thick twist ties, but they were very easy to undo. They weren't all coiled up too tightly, you know? Ash's feet were in these little holes in the plastic, but they came out super easy anyways. Ed, however, has holes on the feet and the forearms up here, so he's proving a little more difficult for me. But he wasn't too bad getting out either. Awesome packaging, Neca. For accessories, Ash and Ed come with the Necronomicon, the Deadite mounted deer head, Ash's boomstick, otherwise known as a 1960s era Stevens double-barreled sawed-off shotgun, and the Kandarian dagger. Ash comes packaged wearing a sort of surprised goofy head, but he comes with an alternate angry head and a more sort of neutral head. And those heads are really hard to pop off, I find. Ah, they're also pretty hard to pop on. You gotta twist as you do it, but it can be done, and then they're on there pretty good. Deadite Ed comes wearing this head that all rhymed, and this is Ed's alternate head. Now, it's so similar to the normal head, you might be asking, well, what's kind of the point? I mean, his hair is a little different, but big deal. Well, you see that line that goes down his face? Ash killed him by cutting his head in half with his chainsaw arm, and it wasn't on his arm at the time, but with the chainsaw, and he got green blood, which Neca has replicated faithfully, even though we don't see the inside of the head in the movie, if I recall correctly. The mounted deer head has really good detail on it. I love the rotting flesh where there's no fur, and surprisingly, it is articulated, which I think is just really cool. Although if I had a nitpick, I mean, I kind of like articulated mouth so he could, laugh like, ha 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 ha, that'd be kind of cool, but, I'm not really missing that. What I might be missing is some way to mount this thing on a wall or a diorama or something. I mean, this is kind of a useless thing if you don't have like a giant diorama to build with your figures, but it is really cool that Neca included it. I like it. The Necronomicon is also really cool. It's got such a good sculpt. All that leather is sculpted. It looks really awesome. And then on top of that, it opens. And not only does it open, there are actual words there. I mean, I can't read them or anything, but it's so cool that Neca included all that. I love this accessory. Now, it's kind of weird that Ash comes with the Kandarian dagger, because I don't remember him using it in the movie. I remember Annie using it, but, I mean, let's see if it fits in his hand, and, yeah, it kind of does. It's, it's a fine accessory, kind of cool to have. I like it. But of course the required one is the boomstick, and let's get that in Ash's hand. Now it's a little tricky to get Ash's finger to go around the trigger, especially without getting his middle finger to go behind it, which is not how you want to hold a gun, but it's a really cool accessory. They pretty much had to include it, and it not only fits in his hand well, it fits back here on this little pouch pretty well. It goes really far down too. I like that. Although it is kind of weird that they included the sawed-off version when, he didn't saw it off till the end, and Ed's here, and, well, we already talked about that. Looking at the scale now, Ash stands at exactly 7 inches tall, and so does Deadite Ed. And as always, here they are compared with my 6-inch Batman and Spider-Man figures. Ultimately, friends, I think these are both awesome figures. They come with a ton of accessories that are all really cool. And even though I'm kind of confused about at what point in Evil Dead 2 these are supposed to be from, because it's not the fight with Ed, but then that's the only spot Ed could be from since his head's cut off. I don't know, it's a little confusing, just like the Evil Dead movies themselves are. But they're both really good figures. And I gotta say, I thought Ed was gonna kind of be a throwaway figure since I really wanted just to get Ash. But he surprised me with how cool the paint and the sculpt work on his head was, and how his articulation is kind of better than Ash's. Not to say Ash is bad, though. Ash is an amazing figure, and I really do recommend you add him to your collection at least. And Ed too, because he's good too. I like them both. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.